I feel happy to be here in a room full of Singularity thinkers. What a treat to talk about blockchain technology. So let me just ask, how many people are familiar with the term blockchain technology? So quite a few people, over 50%. How many people have Bitcoin with them at the moment? So maybe about 15%. Excellent. So these slides are available online at slideshare.net/lablaga. I have been introduced as a blockchain futurist. Now there's a new thing called blockchains. I was one of the first to write a book on them a couple of years ago, and I'm imagining that you might be curious about what are they and what are the potential applications. So that's what I'll focus on today. My thesis is that beyond digitalizing money, payments, economics, and finance, blockchains are a singularity class technology that enables the secure, trackable, automated coordination of very large-scale projects, fleets and swarms. The implications could be an orderly transition to the automation economy and trust-rich human-machine collaboration in the digital smart network societies of the future. So blockchains are just a software. Blockchain technology is a secure distributed ledger software that underlies cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Here in the internet protocol stack, the bottom layer is the internet, and on these pipes there are protocols like SMTP, which tells email how to operate. Likewise, blockchain is a protocol that tells cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin how to operate. Sometimes Bitcoin is referred to as the Internet of Money. This is meaning just as Skype is an application allowing phone calls via internet without traditional phone networks, Bitcoin is an application that allows money transfer via the internet without banks. It's sort of a decentralized PayPal in concept. It's called blockchain because blocks of transactions are posted sequentially in a chain to a single ledger. What we saw with the internet is in the first phase, it was about information transfer, and this modernized publishing, music, and news industries. Now, in the second phase, it's about the transfer of money and property, and this is modernizing economics and finance, providing the digital payments layer that the internet never had. Blockchains are quite useful for the Singularity class project of financial inclusion, just as the printing press and the internet flattened access to communicating information. Now blockchains are giving the same power of the printing press to banking, credit, finance, and economics. Access to financial systems like credit might start to be seen as a basic human right. We also might think of the long tail of economics, where any two parties can now transact on the network, sort of like the eBay of money. One issue is that hierarchy is not scalable. Hierarchy was a great invention at the time, in the Middle Ages, and that allowed us a new tier of organization in our human endeavor. And now we're going through a similar transition where decentralization and distributed networks are allowing us a whole new Kardashev level of planetary scale organization. We know that new levels of scalability are required in big data problems such as health and the brain, where our biggest genome repository right now is on the order of thousands of files, where it could be millions. Likewise, for understanding the structure of the brain, we may need a lot of big data from connectome files. Blockchains are revealing that economic principles are no longer just for economics. We are thinking concepts like resources and exchange and applying them in non-monetary contexts. When we could think of economics and finance in terms of the temporal regime. And so right now in the present, there's the spot market, the cash market for real-time transactions. And this is where cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin operate, real-time in the present. Then there's the futures and options market where smart contracts are the corresponding instrument. Likewise, economics is a system where we try to assess the performance of the present and the past, where finance is a system where we try to assess the future value of assets. Thinking decentralized economics and decentralized finance is a completely new kind of topic. We have conceived so far economics based on scarcity, and this no longer makes sense in a world of digital goods and complementarity and agglomerization. Instead, we might have mindset shifts such as scarcity to abundance, labor to fulfillment, and hierarchy to decentralization. On the finance side, we've conceived financial systems as the task of being to predict the future value of assets and liabilities. And likewise, this might not be the parameter in the future. We might, in finance, shift our minds from ownership to access, from point values to a range of values, and from insufficiency to a surety. Decentralized economics and finance is part of a bigger abundance philosophy of economics, where economies might initially transition to an automation economy and then further to an actualization economy. The successful economies of the future might first alleviate material goods needs of all of the populace, and then focus on intangible social goods production, such as autonomy and trust. This is happening right now as technological unemployment is a key issue of the moment, where half of US jobs are expected to be automated within 20 years. And even this week and this month, there have been some Singularity announcements with the first autonomous driving vehicles hitting the roads. 10 to 20% of the economy is related to transportation, depending how it's measured, and commercial trucking is estimated to be another next area to automate. So now let's talk about some applications. My conjecture is that blockchains might be helpful for any kind of singularity class problem that we have, particularly the properties of being secure, trackable, automated coordination systems for very large-scale projects. When we look around in the technology world right now, a lot of problems look like fleets, large numbers of individual items to coordinate in a secure and automated way. This could be autonomous vehicles, IoT sensors, synaptic connections, deep learners, social robotics, medical nanorobotics, and other kinds of things like that. So one of the singularity challenges that is most pressing to us is enacting friendly AI. How many people are concerned about this issue? So it's a relative number of people. So my argument in this case with blockchain-based technology is that in the future, digital intelligences will be operating on smart networks. And to have any kind of transaction effectuated or completed on a smart network, an agent needs to be in good reputational standing. And any kind of transaction that's important, such as accessing resources or engaging in service contracts or interactions with other parties, will require being in good reputational standing on the smart network. So even bad agents must behave like good agents on a smart network, and therefore all agents on a smart network are friendly. Blockchains also apply in the case of thinking DACs. Have you heard the term DAC? Decentralized Autonomous Corporation. So this is essentially a package of smart contracts for a suite of automating technologies. We might have all of our deep learners registered on blockchains for both tracking and security purposes. And we might automate thinking processes on chains. It's fairly straightforward, input, processing, output. It's a very computationally rich kind of a thing that thinking is. So a simple example at the moment would be autonomous lab robots, where we could register lab robots on blockchains to track their IP discovery. So now another singularity class problem is consciousness, where we have the hard problem of consciousness, explaining what it's like to be a bat, or you or me, where big data has proven to be quite useful in other machine learning kinds of challenges, and presumably so with the brain too, where we might use brain DACs to automate the modeling of brain structure, connecting connectome files in big data repositories and running recurrent neural nets or whatever the AI, machine learning, deep learning technology of the day is over that. There could be personal thinking chains, which is a secure way for us to lifelog our memories and where our quantified self biometric data might automatically upload to a data store for our future use. Already one application here that has been envisioned is an integration of the Oculus Rift and Connectome files so that we might share experience. This would be like the future of Snapchat. So we know that the human mind is but one node in a wider possibility space of intelligence, human mind, where in the future, a key singularity challenge is integrating diverse thinking entities in different kinds of operations. How might that even happen? Blockchains can be quite useful in bringing together parties to interact when the parties don't even know each other or perhaps are not even knowable by each other. So the computational trust building component of smart networks, of blockchain kinds of networks, can effectuate the interaction of multiple different kinds of parties in the future. Virtual reality is another big area at the moment, where not only is virtual reality important for gaming and perhaps productive engagement of persons as we move to the automation economy, but also for simulating. And we'd like to rapidly simulate and prototype a lot of different permutations of situations. For example, a quantum field theory simulation that's particle rich and it can offer us many kinds of permutations. This simulation is an increasingly important mode of computational science where we simulate any kind of result before we try different things in the lab. So another emerging area is social robotics. And this is a class of technology where we think that perhaps all applications might become might start to have voice interfaces, and that we might interact with our applications. So again, the blockchain kind of application would be for the automated, secure tracking and logging of interactions with social robotics, which we would like to be secure. So maybe I would like my smart home or my smart robot to help me with cognitive enhancement kinds of activities, but I would like that information to remain private. Another classic singularity kind of challenge is the gray goo problem. Have people heard of this? Yes. So this worry is that gray goo, there would be unchecked nanotech proliferation over the Earth, or that there would be a DNA-printed synthetic bioplague that would get out of hand. And this has been explored in science fiction like Blood, Music, and Prey. So the solution would be signing, which could be blockchain-based, which is already now Craig Venter and team have plenty of room in the genome for adding a README file and other signing information. So just like engineers sign their work in the macro world for responsibility and liability purposes, similarly, nanotech and synbio engineers are signing their work. And even malicious agents that didn't sign it's still likely to have detectable origins to any work that we find. So one idea could be that we have environmental chains patrolling our Earth-based environment and sequestering or possibly killing any strains of DNA or nanotech that aren't officially registered to a blockchain and easily checkable. So instead of gray goo, we might have the great benefit of a utility fog. Are people familiar with this concept? A little bit. So this idea is to have blockchain-based nanocompilers that create and manage on-demand utility fogs. And a utility fog is a collection of nanobots that can create a physical structure on demand. So say I wanted to sit down in a different kind of chair, I could command a utility fog to compose a chair for me. And we might have, for example, in a use case, have somebody who's diabetic, whose quantified self biometrics are automatically coordinated by a smart contract. And when they are tired, a utility fog automatic chair building DAC creates a chair for them with nanobots. Futuristic idea. So another idea is bio-cryptoeconomics. This idea is applying cryptoeconomic principles in the biological domain for secure automation and coordination of medical nanorobotics for cellular repair. So the idea is that we do anticipate medical nanorobotics as a coming on board repair platform for the human body, where the large number of agents and the health domain make it obvious that automation that's secure would be required. So this would be perfect for bio-nano repair DACs. So my proposition is, instead of a chicken in every pot, maybe one of our current moonshot ideas could be a bio-nano repair DAC in every cell. So the in-cell repair DAC would monitor individual cell health and facilitate augmentation, and would also serve as an enhancement platform. Another idea is BCI cloud minds and chain brains. So we could have cloud minds, which are cloud-based thinking entities, which might be collaborations of multiple kinds of minds. So you might like to join a cloud mind participation, but you might have a lot of concerns and reservations for what would be required for you to feel comfortable doing so. So a blockchain could help serve as a validation entity to conduct operations like line item tracking for new ideas that would be remunerative, assigning credit for those. So this would be sort of like a GitHub or an SVN CVS for brainstorming. Likewise, blockchains can protect the privacy and security of your mind, perhaps permissioning in only certain resources from your connectome file, and also protecting against the big fear we have, which is a loss of personal identity by being absorbed into a group mind. But the key singularity class problem is how are we going to pool our minds in beneficial ways to think about problems in a bigger, richer way. Then there are space chains, blockchains in space, where lots of advances have been happening in space, from launch to propulsion to asteroid mining, space settlement, extrasolar planet detection. And again, blockchains are sort of an obvious singularity class technology for the secure, trackable, automated coordination of very large scale projects, and including the comms networks. There's a blockchain IoT in the sense that we think Bitcoin is for the future of human digital payments, and it is, but it's also perhaps more importantly for the machine-to-machine economy, enabling communication and payments in the domain of machine communication. Blockchain health is an obvious domain for application, where one of the applications that people are working on is electronic medical records, where it seems quite obvious that perhaps I can show up on my phone with my digital health wallet, supply my private key to any service provider worldwide who could pull down my full medical file, which is all in one place in a secure blockchain somewhere, rather than being collected on paper in a variety of health providers over the course of my own personal history. Other ideas are the health research commons, and this is the idea of the biobanks that are secure, genome files, connectome files, all kinds of the big data, health data that we're needing to work on next level applications to really understand disease in the 80% of its life cycle before it's clinically detectable now. Health document notary services is another obvious idea, where your insurance information could easily be confirmed in a blockchain format. There's a company called Factum, which is working on health billing chains. So it's sort of like an EDI system, so any billing claims can more easily be validated since they're blockchain based. There's essentially a single ledger, which is exactly what investment banks are also using blockchain technology for. There could be doctor-vendor RFP services, where, like Uber drivers, doctors bid, in fact, to supply services. So health makes one of these interesting aspects of blockchains visible, that economics is a design tool. So we can use features in cryptocurrencies for non-monetary purposes. And one of the ones I like the most is called the demurrage property. And this is a built-in mechanism for action taking within a currency. So we can start to design currencies with different kinds of parameters. So for example, the demurrage property is what makes something like Bitcoin anti-inflationary. Or other kinds of monetary systems can be set to expire or periodically redistribute per certain events. So this might be good in systems where we want to push full consumption of the resource, and that could be, for example, of a drug in the body or neurotransmitters in the brain, idea propagation, or guaranteed basic income initiatives, where the thought is perhaps to avoid hoarding, that people need to spend down to consume the full allowance every month, or it just expires. Then there are Bitcoin MOOCs. So this is the idea of the long tail of learning, where we might have the blockchain-based Kiva for literacy, peer-to-peer learning contracts. So the issue is that sending money in a donation form now is unclear if it ever reaches anybody at the other end. And so instead, if I have an actual peer-to-peer contract set up with a learning child in another country, they are providing a proof of truth on a weekly basis as to their completing their reading, and I feel quite happy continuing to fund the literacy smart contract. So we could really rethink development in an empowering way. So overall, this is leading to a digital crypto citizen sensibility, where perhaps the new literacy is a digital literacy with things that we need to do, like back up our money, which seems very crazy to us now, but could be part of the new digital hygiene of what it is to be a crypto citizen. There's much more, there's a possibility for much more self-responsibility taking, where we can design our own economic, political, and social systems. The idea of governance services versus being governed, or of monetary, economic, financial, and legal services that we decide the parameters of, for example, our own mortgage. The idea is, from the Enlightenment, we never really socially matured to take more authority for our political and economic systems, but we did progress quite a bit in terms of information from the Enlightenment. So now concluding on Singularity Futures, of course, in this blockchain optimism, it would be remiss not to mention the risks and the downsides, where these are the 4 top issues typically associated with blockchains, which number 1 is scalability. Is this anecdotal, or can this really scale up to be a Visa processing network kind of a technology? And so there are many doubts. The industry's 3rd technology-related meeting to discuss these issues is in Milan in October. And scalability is always the front issue with the technical discussions. The other nice thing about blockchain software is that the discussions are very loud and internet-based, and so all of the issues are known and debated in a large and heated and open way, which presumably conveys more progress. Second issue is mining centralization. So people often point out that not only is the mining a wasteful operation in terms of the electricity consumed, but also it's actually quite centralized in terms of the numbers of the ownership of the mining rigs that confirm and validate Bitcoin transactions at present. And so the answer for this would be that, again, the industry is still in its early days, and right now the economics have made sense to have a centralized mining operation, pushed margins to 0. But in the future, as scalability grows, mining could not persist as being so centralized, and there would be mining operations much more spread out over the world. And including now as the industry is moving to 16 nanometer chips and maybe other kinds of power regimes like solar power or hydro-powered chips. The third issue is the hacking scandals. These persist with regularity. The newest ones in the last few months have been the Ethereum DAO and the Bitfinex scandals. And so people are quite concerned. It's just digital cryptocurrencies are continuously being hacked. It doesn't make any sense. It's supposed to be secure, but yet there are these hacking scandals. And so the answer to this is that we remember the internet was exactly like this in the early days too, that Alta Vista or Yahoo were down for a week with DNS attacks sometimes. And so that now we're right in the early days of building blockchain networks where the only sandbox is the completely exposed real-time 24/7 out on the wild internet, where the system is constantly under attack. And so hopefully we're learning more. We expect continuous attacks, and we expect to learn and upgrade our capabilities for managing these attacks. And that's just the nature of the system. Then fourth, that blockchains and Bitcoin us for drug dealers and criminals. And in fact, the blockchains are an open technology, just like the internet, where there's much more legal activity going on at present. For example, financial institutions worldwide are implementing blockchains faster than any other kind of technology. So with that, thank you. And I'm at the New School with my New Economics Working Group. We have a number of different initiatives in decentralized economics and decentralized finance. And I would welcome any collaborators in this. Thank you.